this entire process is based to getting a qualified person in your showroom for the appointment so that you can close them in that initial appointment. The higher the quality of the lead and the higher quality of information and questions that you're asking is going to lead to a higher quality appointment that you have and a higher probability of closing that appointment at that time. There's some basic rules, and these basic rules aren't complicated as long as you stay on the tracks and you follow the process, because it's a complete methodology that will win success and give you the ultimate outcome of closing that customer later down the road. So first thing is that timing is of the essence. You have to be able to jump on that lead as soon as possible, because what happens is that when they're calling you, they're at their peak moment, or when they're inquiring online, they're actually actively looking for the products that you have. And if they don't have necessarily the complete knowledge, you can help build that emotion much more greater in that moment that will then help transition them into a closing transaction. You want to be mindful, and you want to have your mind right, and you want to be in a positive frame so that your negativity doesn't come across on the telephone. And what I do for that is I will listen to a little bit of music, something really quick, like a song that gets me pumped up and ready to go, or I will stand up, take a walk outside. The thing is you want to create emotion. You want to get as much emotion going as possible, because it's that positive energy that you can translate over. So when I get ready to make a call, I am in the right state of mind. I've got maybe a glass of water, bottled water, whatever that's near me in case I need it. And then also I've got my other phone, my personal phone, on vibrate so it doesn't ring or interrupt. And then I make that call. I stand up a lot of times when I'm making phone calls, because as you know, motion creates emotion, and this is an emotional process for people, whether they consciously know it or not. And I want to make sure that I have the emotion coming out of me so that it ultimately gets put and uploaded into the customer. So with every phone call, I'm standing, I'm getting ready, I dial, and I start off by introducing myself. I say, hi, I'm Ryan with DFW StoneWorks. Is this Susan? And essentially what happens is I'm already going to tell them who I am. They've already inquired. They already want the product that I want, that I sell. And so it's just getting right through all of that. And then what I need to do is get them talking to me. And then they're gonna say, yeah, hi, this is Susan or Jill or whatever, or James or John, it doesn't matter. I was gonna go, great. I know that you had inquired about, countertops or granite or quartz or quartzite or whatever their inquiry is about. I go, tell me about your project. Tell me about what you're wanting to do. And then I'll let them talk and give me as much information as possible, because I'm in the information collecting business at the initial stages of this. And so the more that you communicate with the person talking about yourself, like if I was to tell them, hey, we're the greatest, we're the best, we're the biggest, we're this, that, blah, 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 you shut them down. Nobody cares what you know until they know that you care. How does somebody know that you care? By you listening to their needs and what it is they're searching for. So keep that in mind. It's an important distinction. Let them finish talking. Let them get out exactly what they're wanting to do. Once they get that information out to you, you've taken notes, you've taken information in, you're just basically going to use the same information that you've taken in and relay it back around. So if I'm hearing you correctly, you're wanting to do this. Okay, so why are you wanting to do this? What's your purpose? And then you get into the basic questions: who, what, when, where, why, and timelines. It's all of those things that you cover in the beginning that you're going to qualify this lead to get as much information so that you can turn it around and use that information that you've collected in order to help achieve an appointment. Your ultimate goal is not to sell the product over the phone, because if you're looking to sell the product over the phone, well, this product, I've done it, but it's very difficult to do it. It's not even worth the hassle, because you don't have all the tools that you need. You don't have the slabs, samples, sinks, whatever, backsplash materials. There's so many options. But what you've got to do is get that customer in that right state of mind so that you can set the appointment. And all professionals work off of appointments. And so once you set that appointment, that's when you go into the sales process. And we'll cover that later on. But the main thing is you know your outcome, and that's to set an appointment. It's to elicit information, and it's to find out the who's, the where's, the when's, the why's, and the when. Tell me how long have you wanted to replace your countertops? How long have you wanted to do this project? Tell me, other than yourself, who else will be, making the decision and paying for the project? Oh, by the way, just so I can better guide you and help you achieve your goals, have you set a budget for your project that you want me to keep you under? You phrase it just like that so that you don't come off saying things like, well, how much money you want to spend? What's your budget? Those aren't the way it works. You find out what their needs are so that they feel the value in your service and your professionalism, and then you break it down from that point on to elicit more information and put everything in a box so that it makes it easier for you or whoever is doing the presentation in the showroom in order to close that transaction. So this is the difference between closing 5, 10, 20%, which just happens naturally because it's going off of brand and service and quality of work and reviews and things like that. That's normal. But what you want to do is you want to take a customer or a lead and turn them into a customer, and using the increased value that you're building initially with the information that you're eliciting, and turn that customer into a transaction, and not close 20% or 30 or 40 or 50, but close 75, 85, 90, 95% of those leads, because you're not going to take somebody that is unqualified in the very beginning and have that appointment. What you're going to do is you're going to go through those leads, you're going to qualify them, and make the appointments for the people who are qualified for the product and the services that we offer. That's the ultimate goal. So when you're doing that, you're putting yourself in a position to actually be more successful in sales and close more transactions, utilizing your time better by taking the very simple steps in the beginning and crawling through the information before you're walking and then ultimately sprinting towards the end of the transaction and closing. But that's just a few basic things that I wanted to cover. I don't want to take the video too long, but it at least gives you a good mindset and a direction to go in order to achieve the things that make it possible. So there we go. Okay, so we're back, and what I want to talk about is the questions that you get. So I'm going to give you some basic rebuttals, because during this initial phone call with this lead, you're working the emotional level with it, but they're going to come at you really quickly until they know that you're a professional looking to help them achieve their goals and their desired outcome. So they're going to give you peppered questions. So the one that I hear the most from the initial phone call is, how much does it cost per square foot? Or how much can I get for a set amount of money? Or what is the price of the slab? What is the cost of fabrication? And so the easiest way to answer that is by not answering it directly, because you really don't know, because there's so many different variables that you have to bring in to get somebody an accurate price. So some things that I'll say sometimes would be, I would be doing you a huge disservice giving you a price over the phone without all of the information. So really what I need to do is find out a little bit more information. Then you segue into the next question that you have for them. So it could be about the size of their project. And that brings up another topic. If they know their project is 55 square foot or 75 square foot or 200 square foot, that tells you right there that they more than likely have been shopping around and have a direction to go, but they're looking for validation, or they were looking for something that they have not yet found. So I use that as a point of leverage. And then I'll ask them specifically when they give me a straight number like that, like they say 75 square feet. And I go, that's wonderful. How did you come across that? And did you have somebody out to measure? Did you have somebody do this or somebody do that? Did you look for a proposal from somebody and that's how you found your square footage? Or did you measure yourself? I'm not going to say all of those specific things, but what I'm going to do is say one elegantly so that they give me that information. And I know a little bit more about the emotional status of them, as well as their level of purchase. When somebody says, like they've shopped around, for example, or they give you a specific square foot, and they've admitted that they've been shopping around and they're looking for something, what I'll end up doing is turning it a little bit and say, that's interesting. What is it that you were looking for that you did not find from them? And then they start giving me, oh, I didn't like the way that they did this. They didn't give me this kind of information. They wouldn't give me a full proposal. they wouldn't do this or they wouldn't do that. And I have more information that I can turn around and then implement into the explanation of our process. But I digress just a little bit, I'm jumping ahead. But when somebody does tell me, what is the price per square foot, I'm immediately gonna go and I'm gonna say, that's a great question. I need more information to help give you something accurate. I'd be doing you a huge disservice if I just threw numbers out there for you. So we keep getting, I don't want to say interrupted by people walking in, but it happens sometimes. Actually, a lot. It's pretty cool. So the next thing is question that I'll get is, how long does it take to get installed? Once again, the whole purpose of the phone call is to create an emotion within the customer so that you're in control of it. But they're going to pepper you with these questions initially until you prove your level of professionalism and then get through the process of the who, what's, when, where's, how's over the phone. And keep in mind, just as a timeline, a great phone call will take about 10 minutes. A difficult phone call will take about 20 minutes. So it really varies. So you have to be prepared to have those conversations and have the rebuttals with these questions ready to go, memorized, or just answers already written down, so that when they do come, you can just look at your board and see, oh, this is what I say for this. This is what I say for that. Okay, so how long does it take to get installed? That's a great question. I literally say that's a great question because I get that question all day long. And the thing about it is that question can't be answered until you have more information. So don't be afraid to say that. Go, I do get that question a lot, but each job is different. Each project is different, and it depends on many different factors, including the scope of your project, including the selections of your project, because as we may discuss later, with the supply chain issues, container issues, port issues, everything across the board issues, there's a lot of factors, and it depends on what products you select, as well as the overall availability of it, and actually the timeline based upon normal production. Now, weather is always a factor too. This time of year it's not so dramatic, but when you get into fall and you get into winter and you get into early spring with the rain and everything like that, it can slow us down. And that's just a trickle down the line effect. So if it's affecting us today, Tuesday, well, it's going to trickle down until Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, into next week possibly. So that becomes a bit of a challenge as well. I don't go through all of that, but if I need to, I've got it in my mind and I know that I can use it at any time to help answer that question. But I digress, I want to get back on track with how long does it take to get installed? I will, from time to time, answer that question, but only after I ask the question, is there a timeline that you need it to be installed by? So I'm getting information from them before I'm even answering, because I don't know, I might say something that's off course, off tone. I may say something like 3 to 5 weeks, and they're going to be like, oh my gosh, that's way too long. I can't wait that long. Well, the industry standard's pretty close to that, and that's actually pretty quick right now, all things considered, as mentioned earlier. But I ask their opinion of what they need. They may say, oh, there is no time at all. We've wanted to do this for the last couple of years. That leaves me an opportunity to jump in and say, well, what's made you decide to do it now versus in the past? That's a different conversation, but there's opportunities everywhere in these conversations initially, and it just consistently builds energy and rapport that helps differentiate us from the other people that are in this industry. When they tell me that it is a certain day that they need it installed by, I'm always going to follow that up with a courtesy question of, is there a certain event or a party you're looking to have it done by? All of a sudden, if they say, yes, I've got a birthday party, or I've got Thanksgiving, or I've got the holiday season in general with family coming in, I know that puts a timeline on it, so I have more leverage in getting them in for the appointment, because this is all necessary. This entire process is based to getting a qualified person in your showroom for the appointment so that you can close them in that initial appointment. The higher the quality of the lead and the higher quality of information and questions that you're asking is going to lead to a higher quality appointment that you have and a higher probability of closing that appointment at that time. Now, you always have somebody that is when you first start talking to them on the phone, or even if they are coming into the showroom, they're gonna say the magical words, we're just looking for a bid. I kind of like that, because that's a challenge for me, because all of a sudden, you got somebody that's looking for a bid. Well, a bid inherently is just gonna be somebody that's shopping around, going and looking for the lowest price. Well, if you phrase it in certain ways, what is it you're looking for in a bid? Well, I don't know. I want this, but I think I like this. That's amazing, because that's exactly what we do in our designer consultant appointment, is we go over all the little bitty things. We cover all the details, we cover the material, we cover the sketches, we cover the layouts, we cover how we do our process, we cover sinks, we cover backsplash, we cover down to the last screw that we're gonna use for little bitty things. So it helps us give more, I guess, more credibility for them to get in here and have their appointment as quickly as possible. So I'm taking all of these questions that are typically challenging questions for somebody that doesn't know how to answer them, and I'm creating a sense of urgency with almost every answer I've got. When do you want it installed? Oh my goodness, we need to get you in quickly because of this, 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 and this. Or, oh my goodness, well, we've had this challenge, this challenge, this challenge, industry speaking, of course, shipping, quartz, whatever, supplies. So we need to get you in for the appointment so that we can decide on what materials you're wanting, so that we can ensure that we have it done in the time frame in which you're wanting it. Or, I need a bid. Okay, great. Here's what we do. We don't just have a bid process, because bids are ambiguous. They don't include all the information that you would need a lot of times. So what we do is a proposal. We're gonna give you a line itemization of everything that we're doing, and then have a bottom line price on it in the form of a proposal. If everything makes sense, customers then make their purchase at that time. Is that fair? Well, who in their right mind is gonna say, no, that's not fair. I just need you to tell me a price. Well, so it gears towards everything leading up to the ultimate booking of an appointment. So question-wise, there's some random questions you get to, like one that happens a lot, and keep in mind, we have so many products in our industry, from granite, quartzite, marble, quartz in general, all these different colors, all these different shades, everything that you can imagine. And what happens is we're gonna have them on our website, or people are gonna see them somewhere, or we're gonna have a post somewhere where there was a project which we did something. And you'll get that phone call saying, I need such and such color. I need this immediately. And what happens is that with that phone call, if you answer that in a way that is not advantageous for the customer, then they're gonna be turned off, because they have to have that color. Well, they don't know that there's 4 other colors that look just like that. Or there's other manufacturers of quartz that have a higher quality product at a better deal. So unless we get all that information, we're not gonna be able to help them achieve that. So I like to answer questions like, do you have this color? Even if I know I possibly don't have it here, I go, we have so many colors, I would have to check stock availability of that, but that's something that we'll actually cover in your designer consultant appointment to help make sure that we can get everything in the right timeline. Because 95% of the time, when somebody's looking for a specific color, unless it's a quartz color with a specific manufacturer that's gonna be a higher end manufacturer, you're gonna have people that are gonna choose a different product completely, or maybe not a different product, they may still be with granite or marble, but they may choose a different color. So I'm never gonna say no in that scenario. What I am gonna say, that's a great question. I have to check availability, but that's things that we do actually in the designer appointment. So it helps me help them get them in so that I can do other things and show them other things, because nobody knows they love a Ferrari until they sit in a Ferrari, or nobody has certain aspects or concepts until we can bring it all together and find out what their true goals are to help them achieve the ultimate project for them. Now, in kind of a segue to that, they're gonna ask if you have it in stock. There's gonna be quartz manufacturers, and there's so many quartz manufacturers. They're gonna ask if you have it in stock. nobody's going to carry every color of quartz, every manufacturer of quartz, and then every color that manufacturer or distributor has in their stock supply. And as a fabricator, we have a huge advantage that right outside our door, we have $1 million worth of natural stone inventory and quartz lines out there that are protected, of course, from the UV. But we have that as an option, so people have the tendency to fall in love with the natural stone or quartz that we do have. But it's difficult to answer a question that when they're going to call that is an obvious no, but you have to defer it. And so, were you looking for something in stock? Then you fall back into time. Were you looking for this? Were you looking for that? You fall back into their expectations and setting that quality versus quantity and things in that sense. Now, when somebody doesn't want to make an appointment, they say, I just want to stop by. I don't need to make an appointment. I don't care. I just want to come pick something out and see what's there. Well, first off, we need to have information, because with slabs, there's so many variables and there's so many challenges that realistically, if somebody needs a slab and a half or 2 slabs and a third of another one, if they're going with a smaller quartz slab or a jumbo quartz slab, there's so many variables that we have to contend with in order to help somebody find the right path to achieving their goals. Budget plays a factor, and size plays a factor, timeline plays a factor, materials play a factor, and so it's a dance with information, of which you can't really provide any other than getting them in here so that they can make those decisions, and you would get them in here with the right information. Everybody, and I'll tell them, if we have 120 pending customers right now, maybe 110, that it's all the same for everybody. Everybody brings in a basic sketch and measurement, and we use that as a basis to put together your proposal based with all of your selections, your slabs, your sinks, your a la cartes, whatever the case may be. And then once we have that proposal and a couple of pictures, I always recommend a couple of pictures, the full room, maybe a few different angles so that we can have a better scope of it. And we'll be able to tell if their measurements are off, and we can get everybody within the not even the ballpark, but within a foot or two. And once we have that information, we then can put your proposal together and use that as a basis. And I'll even tell people, to make them feel more comfortable, bring by a cabinet drawer, bring by a piece of tile from your floor, or a paint swatch. And if you don't have paint swatches, we've got them here in our design center, and so we can match up whatever you need on a color. So there's so many different options that help build that rapport and let that customer know that you're wanting to be their professional to help them achieve their goals. Now, going back to I just want to stop by, I don't need an appointment. My rebuttal to that typically is, you're welcome to stop by any time during business hours. However, keep in mind, we want to make sure that when you do stop by, we want to have a professional there that's trained in what it is that you're wanting answered. Price, timelines, expectations, availability. We want to have somebody there to help you if you do need help, because 90% of the time they're going to walk in here and go, oh, what's the price of this? What's the price of that? Do you have this in stock? Can I put a slab on my car and drive off? Yeah, there's so many different questions that people will have. I want to make sure that I give you the fullest benefit and value for what it is that we're going to do for you. And the way I even phrase it, what we're going to do for you, I'm already embedding that we're going to do their project. And if they start agreeing with that, that's even better, because they're making their mind up already before I'm even having them in for the appointment to close them. We'll have people call and say, I just need a sample. I don't really need to talk to anybody. It's the exact same conversation. We'd be doing you a huge disservice. You're welcome to come in, but we'd be doing you a disservice by not having one of our professional sales consultants or designer consultants there to help answer any questions, even if you're looking at a remnant, for example, which we'll have a ton of people call for that. We want to make sure that we have somebody that even knows what the material is, because it's not labeled in the traditional sense. Yes, it may have a worn label because it's been out there for 30 days, but there's a huge yard of remnants that people will walk in, they'll want to know, what's this? What's the price on this? What's that? It's different to have a professional that can answer those questions quickly and efficiently, as opposed to an administrative person who, that's not their job. That's not their role. And it's not what they've been trained for. So that's something that's important to keep in mind as well. One that we get a lot is, do you come out and measure before we pay? And that question is asked probably 50 to 60% of the time. Now, I don't tell everybody that they pay 100% up front. I don't tell everybody that we don't go to your home until you pay. That's just part of our system, because it would be impossible for us to go to everybody's house just to do measurements and then give them a bid. Those are two things we don't do. We don't give a bid and we don't go to their house. Why? Because if we have 10 people a day coming through the showroom door and we're pitching those 10 people a day and basically going through those appointments, there's no way we could have somebody driving out to 10 people's houses a day doing templates for people who haven't committed to us. So that's part of our process, is that we're committed to the highest quality at the best price and with the fewest hassles with every customer that is a customer, not somebody that's just randomly looking for a bid. So how I answer that question, don't you come out and measure before we pay? How do we know what to pay? I go, that's a great question, because if I have 120 or 110 pending customers right now, I'm not sure where it's at, but what every customer does is they bring in a basic sketch with the length and width of their countertops. Doesn't even have to be perfect, but it gives us an opportunity. We'll do all the math for you. You don't have to worry about it. We'll do all the math for you, and a couple of pictures of the room and maybe a cabinet drawer. You bring that in, we put everything together with your selections, your slabs, your sinks, your backsplash, et cetera, and then if everything makes sense, we're going to give you a line itemization of your entire purchase with a bottom line price. If everything makes sense at that time you make your purchase, then that initiates us to go out within 3 to 8 business days to do laser digitation of your entire room, of the kitchens and vanities and outdoor kitchens, whatever we're doing. We bring our lasers out and we get our lasers to within 1 264th of an inch to make sure that we have the perfect measurement. And then we bring that information back and build you a CAD file where we take your actual slabs and we digitize your slabs. And we basically lay out your entire kitchen on those slabs so you get to see it. Not only do you get to see that, but you get to see a bird's eye view of what your kitchen's gonna look like as you're looking down on it. And you get to see the seam placements, you get to see the sink placements, where the faucet core holes are, where the edging is, and everything. And you get to see that beautiful flow pattern of the material you selected. So what that does is I'm painting a visual picture to let her or him know, Mr. and Mrs. Customer lead at that time, this is the way our process works. And they don't know how it works unless I take that 30 seconds to tell them about it. And so I'm building value in what our process is by at least explaining it to them so they have a better understanding of what their ultimate goals are, okay? Now, so I'm able to get past a lot of those transitional questions that people are gonna have by reinforcing the value that we offer and building up the appointment in order to close it. I get this one a lot, probably 20% of the time, just because of the market that we're in here. But basically, people think they have a fabricator. They knew a guy 5 years ago that did their countertops, but they're not with him looking for slabs. They come in here looking for slabs in our slab yard, or wanting to look at different products that we carry that maybe another unprofessional fabricator can't carry. And what happens is they just want to buy the material. Now, out of that 20%, there's a good percentage that will end up buying everything. Slabs, fabrication, installation, all of it from us, because we build the value so high and so quickly in that designer appointment, it creates a synergy and an emotion where they fall in love with something. So it's just a beautiful process, and we'll get to that in the future. But remember, we're working to sell the project. I'll still make an appointment, still tell them to bring in their measurements, and they'll go, well, why do we need our measurements if we're going to use another fabricator? Well, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked that, because I need to know how much material you want based upon the flow patterns and based upon the actual size of the slabs in order to help you achieve what you want a professional fabricator to do, unlike an unprofessional one. So I'm going to help you do that in order to help your project go, or achieve your goals, I should say. But yeah, that's kind of the overall questions that you'll get, to whereas you can still take that market where they've already got somebody they're working with, a fabricator. Well, if they're working with a fabricator, why isn't their fabricator here with them picking out slabs? Because they don't care. If they don't care about that customer, I'll be more than happy to care for them when they buy from me. It's that simple, okay? Let's talk about our process real quick. Our process is to aim towards a particular market that has a particular income and in particular areas. Now, you have to maintain a level of professionalism. That's one thing that we pride ourselves on. That helps differentiate us from other companies. And that initial conversation with us helps give me an upper hand in helping with that differential. Because if you have other companies and then you have us, nobody knows anything about us really other than what they've seen or heard online or in a referral until we talk about our process. We talk about what we do. And so in the dialogue and conversation, I'm going to bring some things up that help me or give me validity. For example, our production facility is downtown near Fair Park. And I'll go, yeah, we don't do any fabrication here in this location. Our fabrication is actually located downtown next to Fair Park, if you know where that is, where the State Fair of Texas is. Oh, State Fair of Texas. I don't know if we told you, or if I had mentioned that we're the official countertop company of the State Fair of Texas since 2012. We actually exhibit down there in a large exhibit next to Lexus, DirecTV, Mattress Firm, name associations, positive, 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 so that I can give that customer a sense of, oh, wow, I didn't know that. Okay, so pretty awesome. Now, I'll use that one as a tie-in. And then if they're looking for a particular product, like we'll take Cambria, for example, and I know they're looking at Cambria, I'll pull in the fact that, oh yeah, we did that, we've sold a lot of Cambria, and we actually did that Coca-Cola display out at DFW Airport in Terminal D, and that was Cambria products, so we love working with Cambria. And I've got a picture, I'll send that picture over to you, or I'll bring up the fact that if they want a particular color in Cambria, I'll go, oh yeah, that expansion in Choctaw, we worked on that expansion, and it was really awesome to be a part of that. And we put Cambria in there, and it was absolutely stunning. So I'll work things into the conversation where it's not braggadocious. It's as if they're asking me based upon the product or whatever their needs are, and I'm going to bring it forward and tell them that to build value and quality and association through success. Now, all of this is happening within 10 to 20 minutes. So I'm giving you a lot of information and breaking it down in a way that seems like a ton of talking 30 minutes, 45 minutes on the phone. You shouldn't have to talk that much. Your whole key is to build value in the company, get on the phone, connect with the customer. Your rapport is a factor, but that comes across by showing them how much you care. But the rapport really happens in that initial interaction when they come in. And we'll talk about that in the future. But the process is to keep moving forward the conversation. And you have to always remember, there's one person always in charge. There's one person in charge, and it's the person that is leading the conversation, and that's gonna be me when I'm on the phone. I'm not gonna allow the customer to kick me around, take me off script, take me down different places and different topics that aren't even relevant. I'm gonna reel them back in every time. And that's why these questions are so important that we covered, because these are off-topic questions that pull us out of the process. There will be times where I'll get a phone call, or I'll take a call or call somebody back where none of these questions are really brought up. But I still have to tell them our process from start to finish so that they know. There's times where they'll be like, okay, great. We're already sold. Let's just get in there and let's make this appointment so we can make it happen. I still have to tell them that, oh, by the way, just so you know, I've already explained how the payment process or the proposal process goes. And hey, keep in mind that if you're bringing your checkbook or paying in cash, we give you the cash and checkbook price. If you're paying by card, just remember there's a transaction fee for that. So keep that in mind. It's small, but there's still one if you want to save a little bit more money. And they're like, oh, thank you for telling us. We'll be sure to bring the checkbook. Now they're already thinking about bringing the checkbook. They're thinking about purchasing and buying and having a step towards a completion of their project once they're off the phone with me and I've set that appointment. And I set appointments in 2-hour increments. So I allocate 2 hours to have an appointment. I can get through an appointment in about 40 minutes if everything is moving smooth. But if I have a person that needs a little bit more communication and a little bit more working, then I'll go 2 hours as an extended time. But in general, you should be able to get everything knocked out in about an hour and 15 minutes on an appointment, from product selections, from measurements, math, proposal, payment, thank yous. There you go, okay? But the appointments, you want to definitely set yourself up for success. You never make an appointment where just the one person comes. If it's a spouse or it's a partner, business, personal, it doesn't matter. You want to make sure you have all the decision makers there. So how do you know if they're going to be there? You ask. Go, other than yourself, who else will be joining us making the selections and purchasing of your product? Oh, it's me and my wife. It's me and a friend on this flip property that we're doing. So you want to make sure you have those decision makers here so that they are going to be both decision makers here, the checkbook's going to be here, and also you're going to have the measurements and then the product selections, and then all of this adds up to a closed transaction during that appointment. And if you close that transaction during that appointment, even with best price guarantees and all these other wonderful programs that we have, they're not going to go shop around. They're done. They're sold. Highest quality at the best price and with the fewest hassles. That's what we work on. And we got to convey that from the start to the end. But the most important time is that starting time. So I hope this helps. And I hope it gives you a better breakdown of the overall process of handling objections in the initial conversation with people setting the appointment. So there we go. Awesome.